Good afternoon, councillors, officers, members of the public. Welcome along. I declare this meeting open. I haven't received an apology from Councillor Stick, so she may be turning up. Councillors, are there any declarations of interest for this meeting? Public question time. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. The questions tonight are: one, I refer to item 10.4.4 on tonight's agenda and ask: A, will the valuation of Lot 66 be reviewed to take into account the value added by the rezoning and structure plan over Lot 66 and Lot 497, and in particular the number of units and retail spaces to be allowed on Lot 66? And B, when does Council expect to be able to reveal the sale price for Lot 66 under the already signed offer and acceptance? And 2, has Council made any representations to the State Government MPs who represent the Bunbury area seeking a reduced sale price for the old post office building for Council, or preferably the transfer of the land and building to the City of Bunbury at no cost to ensure the preservation and appropriate use of the oldest standing public building in the City of Bunbury?
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I'll just, before we answer, could one of the officers open the doors, please? Thank you. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to question 1, no, as the sale price was already negotiated when entering into the original contract of sale. In relation to question 2, the sale price is already public. It's included in the council budget papers. And question 3, yes, discussions have already occurred or commenced in relation to that.
Thank you. We have responses there to questions taken on notice by Mr. Redinger. Confirmation of the previous minutes. Can someone move those, please? Last meeting. Councillor McCleary, seconded Councillor Giles. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can someone move the Bunbury Roadwise Committee minutes? Councillor McCleary. Councillor Seconder, Councillor Cook, all in favour? It's carried unanimously, thank you. Any petitions, councillors? We have requests for presentations from Mr. Redinger, wishes to address council on 10.4.4. Those who agree to that, please indicate. Thank you. Mr. Smith seeks leave to speak on item 10.2.5. Those who agree, please indicate. Those who don't. That is denied. And request from Anna Dunning, wishes to speak to 10.4.2. Those who agree, please indicate. That's approved. Thank you. So, councillors, we need to discuss the following items. 10.2.1 requires an absolute majority. 10.2.2 also requires an absolute majority. 10.4.2, 10.4.4 and 10.5.1 requires an absolute majority. Are there any other items that anyone wishes to raise? Can I have someone move? Councillor Cook, Councillor Jones, all in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. 10.2.1, can I have a mover, please? We need an absolute majority on this one. Councillor Jones, seconder. Councillor McGuinness, all in favour? It's carried unanimously, thank you. 10.2.2, someone prepared to move that? Councillor Cook, seconder. Councillor McCleary, all in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. 10.4.2, Anna Dunning. Welcome along. You have, as we discussed, 5 minutes for your presentation.
I've noticed that in the copy of the agenda that I received, I wasn't able to open any of the appendices attached, so I apologise for any ignorance that I might have on some of these subjects, but I'm concerned about some of the BAL ratings, high ratings for properties surrounding the development. Most of the landowners, I feel, may not have been willing to participate in any feedback because a lot of the properties on Dudley Drive are rented and the people that live on the street wouldn't have received any information because they're not landowners. I'm concerned that Lot 800 is required to be developed for access to Parade Road via Liam Street with no time frame for this. So currently Lot 801, as it's developed with 57 lots, all traffic will be via Dudley Drive. I note that there is also access to the subdivision by Mosedale Ave, but I don't feel that many people will use that route to access the city. They'll go via Dudley Drive, which is easier, quicker. It said in the agenda item that the extra traffic created by the subdivision will not exceed typical or acceptance performance limits, but I'm not sure what those typical or acceptable performance limits are. I spoke to a lady in engineering at the Bunbury City Council on October 4 regarding current traffic problems with speed, and especially Dudley Drive has a playground on the street. There are a lot of families, children living on the street. She did say to me that she had visited the street and that she agreed that yes, there was a playground on the street and that there would be a traffic counter installed to measure the speed as well as the number of vehicles along Dudley Drive, and that she would also speak to the police department about a greater presence to possibly catch speeders in action, but I've not seen any follow through on that one. At the moment, the footpath on Dudley Drive does not go to the end of the street, which connects to Crampton Avenue. It only goes part way, probably halfway or 2/3 of the way along Dudley Drive, and at the moment I know of one pensioner on our street who rides a scooter, like an electric wheelchair almost sort of thing, and has to go out onto the road at the moment to access the chemist and the doctor's surgery on the corner of Crampton Ave and Parade Road. So I have a lot of concerns about the extra traffic and the impact that that will have on the current residents along Dudley Drive and surrounding streets. And I've also noticed that on the agenda, Usher is the development is referred to as being in Withers. However, I would have thought that that area would have been described as Usher, so I'm not sure about that one either. And that's all I have to say.
Righto, well, thank you very much for that. We'll now deal with the issue. A lot of the issues you've raised are actually detailed in the officer's report, and as you say, you've now had the chance to read the attachments, so the BAL traffic management has been addressed in there. However, once we've dealt with it, that'll be the decision of council tonight, but that fine-looking gentleman, second from the right, Mr. Harris, if you catch up with him after the meeting, he's the Director of Works, and he'll let you know what's happening with those various roadworks, footpaths that you've mentioned as well.
Okay. Thank you
Thanks
very much.
for coming along.
Thank you.
Councillor, can I someone move the executive recommendation? Councillor Jones, thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Miguel. Councillor Jones.
Mr Mayor, I think we should take note of the ratepayers' concerns, but I'm confident that with some further discussion with Mr Harris that there will be some identification of the problems and that they'll be addressed accordingly.
Thank you. Councillor McGraw. Is there a speaker against? I'll put it. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. So that's been approved. Mr. Harris, thank you. Councillor, we move on to 10.44. Mr. Redinger, welcome.
Thank you.
You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Brennan and councillors, for allowing me to speak. It'll just take 5 minutes. First, introduce myself as a resident and owner of Unit 1, 13 Upper Esplanade. That's one unit of 27 in the Ocean Beach strata that sits immediately above this Back Beach tourism development. So as both a resident and owner there since 2008, and also as a strata councillor in the Ocean Beach strata, I represent myself and also the interests of the strata council for some 27 residential units there. I sent a letter to the CEO with my own comments, during the public comment period on the Central Precinct. I would say that as background, generally speaking, our Ocean Beach Strata Council supports the Back Beach tourism development overall, but we have some specific concerns about the Central Precinct, and that's what prompted my question about the timetable. That's since been answered. Obviously, when you look further in 10.4.4, there's quite a detailed progression there in terms of executive recommendations. But I will say, for the record, that we have 5 main concerns about the Central Precinct, not the least of which are the building heights, and specifically in Lot 66, pushing the 12-meter limit and performance-based criteria to 4 stories. I don't see how that's physically possible. Also, we find that the parking is inadequate for both Lot 66 and Lot 497 to allow for visitors and tourists and various other people coming in, grossly inadequate for Lot 66. We don't see any major infrastructure developments proposed by the city for overflow parking, utilities, security, support around these facilities. We're just looking at islands, and within the islands, it's obviously not going to be enough if we're going to encourage tourism in that district. And finally, the amenity of the local residents and the views and vistas that we have as local residents are going to be significantly impacted by an in-your-face development, particularly at Lot 66, if the performance-based criteria is approved. Now, I just noted, and I printed out a copy of 10.4.4 just a couple of hours before the meeting, but I did make note that basically the executive recommendation is to proceed to the development application stage. I don't quite understand how that's going to work or how that's going to proceed so quickly when in fact there are 16 and 17 written public comments submitted that I don't see detailed responses to. So if we don't get an opportunity as a public to comment before this thing proceeds to development application, it sort of looks like our comments are not really being seriously considered. Although I will note for the record that in the 10.4.4, a couple of the concerns about building heights on Lot 66 and parking issues are noted, but it's only noted approved with comments, proceed to the West Australian Planning Commission to the development application stage. I think there's far more discussion required on some of these points to make sure that the blend of the existing residents, the new residents that are going to be in these URAs, whoever they may be, tourists that are coming in, visitors that are coming in, people that are going to be using the commercial facilities, particularly in Lot 497, for the benefit of everybody involved and the overall amenity of the community with this such a massive new development going in there. I think there's a lot more planning required. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. Before I ask for a move in a second, Mr. CEO, would you or manager planning just explain the difference between a structure plan and a DA, a development application, which has been alluded to in this officer's recommendation? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The structure plan you have is to guide subdivision principally. It's not to guide urban design. So the development application will deal with ultimately the actual height constructed. Whilst the Lot 66 structure plan does infer the possibility of performance-based assessment, it's not automatic as of right. They have to demonstrate through a viewshed analysis that council will see and must see, and council will still see the development application and approve the development application. But at this stage, the developer is only creating, if you like, a volumetric space within which to design and work. Doesn't mean they will be that high or that far set back. I would be waiting for the development application for the final architectural design to know exactly what the building will look like and precisely what land uses they want, which will then give you the car parking demand. I do note that Lot 497 is a more, it's innovative, but it's a more cautious plan in relation to height and parking than 66. However, that is the proponent's suggestion at this stage. It can be managed through the DA. I just want to pick up one more point with facilities. May I suggest that you look at the Back Beach Tourism Precinct plan? That was the very first initiative that looked at the whole area and picked up on exactly what you're suggesting, sir, in relation to what does this mean for the whole area and what's the public domain going to do to respond to those opportunities?
Thanks very much. Someone prepared to move this? Councillor McCleary, Councillor Kelly. Councillor McCleary?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, but no, I think it was adequately explained. Thank you very much.
Councillor Kelly? Okay, anyone wishes to speak against this? I'll put it all in favour. That's carried unanimously, thank you. And we move to 10.5.1. We just need an absolute majority for this particular matter. Someone prepared to move? Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Giles, seconder. Any debate on this one, councillors? I'll put it all in favour. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I declare this meeting closed at 5:46 p.m.